excited to be here to do
My
this.
name is Laura Foster.
Guitar player extraordinaire slash resident fun guy at Northside Youth.
Trio Quinn. I'm actually Charlie's cousin.
Will Baker.
Eddie. Baines Blanton. I'm a junior at Lowndes High School.
Peterson. I'm a student at Lowndes High School.
All right, welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad to have you on both today. If you could just introduce yourself and we'll just keep on going.
Hi, I'm Audrey.
I'm Asa.
And so if you could just go in and tell your testimonies a little bit, and we'll just keep on rocking with questions. It doesn't matter the order, though.
Okay. I'll start, I guess. So I've always been like a kid in church, I guess. I grew up in the church. My dad's a pastor, and I've always been in the church. Mm-hmm. And I got saved at a young age, so I never had one of those stories of lived all like the world. I was saved at young.
And then I come in and yeah.
So I've been saved since I was young, and I've grown so far with people in my life. Just recently, I've been starting in the music ministry, singing with the choir. And Pastor Jeff's great, and that whole ministry is great. But so, like I said, I was saved young, and then as I move through life, you get into middle school, and you get influenced by people, and you start doing things you shouldn't do, saying things you shouldn't say. But overall, you just gotta work through those type of things, and you gotta know God's always there for you to help you through those. So.
And it's definitely a temptation. It doesn't really matter what, unless you're homeschooled. If you go to a public school of any kind, even I've heard stories from Christian schools now, you can't trust that anymore.
Yeah.
It's weird,
yeah.
right? That you can't trust that anymore because used to, oh yeah, that's a great school to go to. Now it's their parents and all the quote-unquote bad kids to there, and they just all rebel, and it makes it worse. But Audrey, what is your testimony like?
So I also just grew up in church and just going to church. But for me, I was 7, and I was at a VBS here at Northside.
Nice.
And at first I was a little hesitant because I knew, for the past, leading up to VBS, I'd been asking my mom questions about, getting saved and, what, going to heaven meant and all that stuff. And she was, telling me, but I'd never, I didn't know. I wasn't too sure about it. Mm-hmm. And then at VBS, it really, I just secured it. And I walked forward when Robbie was praying and got saved.
Yeah, you got to love a VBS, especially when we're paired up together.
Right.
Yeah, and that was so funny. I was I didn't realize how many of those kids you knew in that group. I was oh my gosh, she's babysitted them all.
Yeah, I had babysitted our whole VBS group.
That was so funny because, and then what cracked me up about it was, the name tags, right?
Yeah.
It said Mr. Charlie on it. It cracks me. I'm you ain't got to call me
Mr. Charlie.
I'm not that.
Mr. Charlie.
I am not that old. You ain't got to call me that. But I'll just keep alternating questions. But Asa, how did you come to Northside? How did that happen?
So I used to go to Southside in Lakeland, and
kind of ironic.
Yeah,
Southside, Northside.
it's a change, but I went Northside or Southside since I was young. I don't even know when we started going there. I think my parents have always gone there since moving from the building in the middle of Lakeland to the one that's just outside of Lakeland. But we went there. I think it was 5 years ago now. Mm-hmm. But we moved to Northside. There's some stuff in the church, and we decided it was time to move. So we picked up and we were going around watching stuff online at churches, and we saw Northside's live stream. We were like, we have got to go see this.
Right.
And the first time walking into Northside, it was a completely different experience. This is a great experience. And it was that first time it was this is where we're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And I started going to youth a couple days after that, and I don't know how long it was, but a few weeks go by and you join the church. So it's great.
Yeah. But for me, it was really funny. Drew invited me to Wednesday night, and I've kept going ever since. But and I was thinking about it the other day. If he hadn't invited me to that Wednesday night, I think it was back September, maybe of last year or something. I don't know. Feels like it's been 10 years ago now, but it really hasn't. All these interviews wouldn't have been done because remember I would sneak out of the room behind you, and then go and I've stopped doing that now because I felt so awkward about it. I'd always felt am I being stared at? Nobody was. I knew there wasn't anybody staring at me because that was you were focusing on landing at the time, but I was it felt like I was being stared at. I was because you could just, I'm trying to just move as quietly as I can, but I think I made more noise by trying to move as quietly as possible.
Going slower.
And I'm this isn't working.
Sometimes when I'm zipping up my Bible.
Yeah.
And I'm going slow, but all you can hear is zzz. but if I just went faster, I feel like it would have been quicker. But I don't know.
And you hear so many people like on a Sunday morning, like after I was trying to wrap up, you should.
Or like the Bible's closing.
Everybody's Bible flipping.
Or flipping to a page like hold on, give me a minute to get there. Like I think there's been a few times where like might be like Randy or somebody, they'll just start speaking. I'm not there yet.
I'm not there yet.
Hold on. Like I gotta look at my table of contents here.
Say amen if you're there. And
it's like not amen. No. But Audrey, how did you come to Northside?
Well, whenever I was like I was like when they do baby dedication, I was my parents did that with me here. And then we left for a little bit. We were just looking at other churches because I think the pastor that was here, I was young. I was student. I have no idea why. But we left, and then we came back when I was about 6 or 7. I can't remember.
Yeah, and I've heard stories like from Mr. Jason, like some of the like stuff that happened at Northside. Yeah. It's crazy to think like
I think it was something that like a lot of people. I don't know. It was just a kind of a. Yeah. I don't know.
He was telling me that like Northside was weeks away from closing its doors. And that's
weird. Yeah, it's crazy.
That is so weird to think
about. Because you see how
about.
big it is now.
Yeah.
You'd never think they were closing.
I mean, because I guess what had happened, like they brought Pastor Robbie, and he's like, "Give me a year to like."
Give me a year to.
That's why we came back because of Robbie.
That's awesome.
So,
like he like and just. Like God just worked through him. It's like, my gosh, what in the world? You went from this church was about to close its doors to it's probably one of the biggest churches in the area now.
Really
I mean, I'm trying to think of like what you could compare like in terms of like members, like what church is about as big? Is there one like around?
I don't know.
I don't really.
Not for all ages.
Yeah,
I feel like there are some for
yeah.
adults.
I feel like there are really
or
big
just
churches.
some for like youth, but ours has like everything for
mix.
like kids, youth, adults,
like
senior adults, everything.
I mean, because that's one thing for sure that I've like noticed with my friends are like my small little church is like struggling because we ain't got a youth. I'm like, well, you know,
come see our youth.
Yeah,
that's how a lot of my friends struggle. They like, I don't have anyone my age in my church.
I was like, come on,
I know,
come on
this way.
It's like, and I'm even, there's even some, like one of my friends, he's a Methodist, but he comes here because they don't have a youth group, and I'm like, come anyway. Like we don't care. Like just show up. Like we want you here. I'm like, and it blows my mind when I hear people say all the time. They're like, my church struggles so hard to get a youth group. I'm like. Well, I mean, I'm not saying like, well, I mean, I guess you could use Northside as an example. Like, see what like they're trying to do and reach the youth that way.
Well, in our youth group, like whenever I was little, when I was like 5, our youth group there was like 20 kids.
Right, so it's grown.
And it's grown so much because we pull about like 50 now.
50.
Good.
And that's just crazy. In the college.
And the college
group
is
too.
grown,
It used to be less than the youth group.
Well,
And now it's,
I feel like that's a lot with the BCM in Valdosta State. They started partnering with them, and you get so many more people coming.
Well, right, it's great when you've got your partner like. Is David Williams.
Yeah,
he goes to Northside.
That
kind of helps. He's he's probably a little bit like, hey, go to Northside. Like we've got this going on. But hey, so what has your experience with football been like?
So our season just ended recently, but it was a great year, and even not this year, but last year too. We had a great season. We went all the way to the second round last year, and then this year we made it to the first round and sadly lost with an overtime. Loss, but I mean, you made it to the playoffs.
You did better than what Lowndes did. Yeah, we don't even need to talk about that. But yeah, so like, was there like, just like a brotherhood in there? Like
there really is, and like even a couple years ago as a freshman, I felt like the team was always like fighting over something or somebody. And the past couple of years, it's like grown to be more of a brotherhood. And even the coaches, like even if you needed anything, you could always go to a coach and they'd be there for you.
Yeah.
I've had multiple times where I didn't have a ride home when I couldn't drive, and I had a coach take me home, and they're just really great. Good friends to have. And then there's also opportunities to reach people in the youth.
Right.
And like,
yeah, 100%. And like, was it something, I could be wrong, but was it something you always wanted to do?
I've played football since I was little. I played rec. I played 1 year rec, and rec wasn't for me. But then I got in middle school, and they were like, "Okay, you're coming to play football. You're a big kid. You're playing football.
You're a big kid now. Come on, you're coming to football right now.
You are playing football."
And I'm not even joking. I had somebody. I think it was like in the Lowndes school system. My dad knows a few of them, like administrators. They were like, he should play football, and it was so ironic because like I'm like they didn't know I had leg problems, and it was so funny to me. I'm like. Yeah, that's not going to happen. It was the same thing like when a military Navy recruiter gave me a business card. I'm like that's not going to happen either. But I just smiled and waved and took the card and then stuffed it in my pocket and never called him back. But Audrey, what has been your experience with the Georgia Bridgman been like?
Yes. Okay. So freshman year, it was a little not intimidating, but I was a freshman and I was just scared, but I was naturally good at it. I don't know. I don't want to be like that, but my parents always helped with it. My mom was the coach for 18 years, and now she's like our mom, like our guard mom.
Heck yeah.
So she helps a lot, but it was just came naturally because when I was little, I was in the shows sometimes as like a little girl figure, or I just spun on the side. Like I've always been like spinning flags and stuff on the side, so it just kind of was like natural, and I knew the band director and the coaches, so I just loved it anyways. And then this year I tried out for captain, and I was one of the captains
Heck
of the
yeah.
color guard team,
Woo!
so that was very nice. But I just love Friday nights and the atmosphere of it.
Yeah, and that's funny. Like, have you seen me?
Yes, I see you every Friday night.
I thought
make
you did.
eye contact with Charlie because I stand right in front of him.
I thought you did, and I thought you were looking at me a couple times, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
and because there's so many people you could possibly be looking at, because you've got so many people who are like, hey, they're waving. I'm like, they're not waving at me. They're waving at the person.
The person at the top of the thing.
Yeah. I was looking at like y'all like in that area because my family sits right beside y'all too. But,
I've heard your mom.
Oh,
I've heard your mom.
But what was I gonna say? It's so hard because there's like thousands of people in that stadium. So when you're on the field looking up during pregame and you're not doing anything, you're just standing there like while the announcer's talking. It's so hard to smile because you're like looking around and you don't think, just like Jeff was talking about with the choir. You don't know you're doing it, but it's such like a nasty face, like you're just
You're resting.
It's my resting face, but I'm not smiling, and I think I am like doing like a little like soft
like a smirk,
but I'm not, and it's I just need to work on that.
Well, and I even noticed that like when you bring up the choir, like I look back in the Christmas program at the pictures, and I was like, my gosh, we look so angry.
Nobody's smiling.
Like, I think if you just had like a few head tilts, like we were just kind of like doing that, or like we were caught at bad angles. I'm like, and there's one picture like that where I think it was like, maybe during the last practice. My mom, like, you can't even see her. You can see her hair because he's so short. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because she had to move, like, because like she was put right behind, or like right behind like some really tall youth. I'm like, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna fly. But Asa, have you felt any pressure like to join choir or like play an instrument because like your family's done it? Like, was there any pressure there?
There was not pressure, but my family's always told me, you've got the singing talent. I've always told people I didn't get the singing genes. I got the sports genes of the family.
Which is a lie.
You got both.
Apparently I got both because I got a lot of compliments on my solo, and apparently I did really good though.
Yeah, you did. Are you kidding me? I mean, I was sitting right behind you. Like, of course you did. But I gotta ask, how did you meet Asa? Like, was it
how?
through here?
Okay,
this is
was
a story
through here.
here.
Okay, so basically, he moved here 5 years ago.
Something like that.
I was in 6th grade and he was in 7th grade. Okay, I had the biggest crush on him when he moved here.
Okay,
and
all right.
he just. I think it was just awkward. Like, I didn't talk to him, but I liked him, and all my friends knew. But anyways,
how did it not spread? Like,
I don't know how it didn't spread, but he liked he liked a few of my. He didn't like them, but he just thought some of my friends.
You get somewhere and you start looking at everybody.
Yeah.
So we were in 6th grade, and he just thought some of my friends were nice looking. Just kidding. Anyways, fast forward. My mom and him were working together in the video room doing sound and words, and I'd always gone in there with my mom, like, before the service and after, and I just, like, I still had a crush on him. I was like, oh, my gosh, I'm just going to go in here. And finally I got into high school, and I was going to homecoming, but I didn't have a date, and I was, like, trying to think of someone good. But, like, at schools, like, guys are so nervous to ask girls, so I knew, like, no guy had asked me yet.
You're right, we are.
Guys are so nervous to ask girls when I would have said yes, you know what I'm saying, if it was a good guy and whatever. But no one had asked me, and I was like, I really want to go with someone. I mean, it's okay if I don't go with someone, but I want to go with someone. And my mom was like, well, let's think about the church, like, someone that doesn't go to Lowndes that you could ask, because that way you can ask them. And I was like, yeah. And Asa was the first one that came to mind, but I was so nervous, and I was like, Mom, I am not asking him. Like, I swore I was not asking him because he was gonna say no. And my mom made me ask him. We went to Walmart before it was Sunday, before church had even started. It was like 6 a.m. We were in Walmart. Buying a football. And she in the car wrote Hoko on it. She wrote Hoko on it. And I was so nervous. I was like, Mom, this is so cringy.
Oh my gosh.
He's going to say no just because of the football.
I still have that football today.
Anyways.
It's still in my closet.
She was in there. Noah, okay, so funny. It was my mom, me, Asa, and Noah in the room that morning. And Noah walked out, and I was like, okay, this is the perfect time, but my mom's sitting right there, so I don't know if I should do it now or not. And
Well, she knew about it.
Yes, I know, but so my mom, I did not do it. And my mom goes, Audrey, or she goes, Asa, Audrey has something to tell you.
Oh, no.
And I was
No.
like, Mom! Like, I was not ready for it, and then I asked him, and then funny thing was, he said, can I call my mom? Or can I talk to my parents first?
I wasn't expecting it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, the first thing I was like is, I don't know, can I? So I wouldn't
he
call
was-
my mom.
he-
It's the
so
first
I
thing.
thought-
I mean, understandable.
Yeah, but I thought he was gonna be like, he said, let me talk to my parents first. So I thought he was gonna be like, he'd like let me know that night. He'd go home and talk to them like during lunch. But he stood up,
I walked out.
and called her in the lobby, and me and my mom just started laughing because we were not expecting that. And then we went to homecoming together, and then it was
Wow.
great.
We've been here since. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is...
But it was my mom.
That
My
is-
mom.
that
'Cause
is
if it weren't
funny.
for my mom, I wouldn't have asked him.
That is so fun. Sometimes a little push is all you
It
need.
is. Like, if she wouldn't have
Or,
said...
I don't know if you call that a little push. Maybe,
It's a little-
quite the
If
show.
it wasn't for her saying Audrey has something to tell you, we wouldn't be here.
That's fun. Like, and you just walked out the room. Like,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny, bro. So Asa, I gotta ask, because you brought it up. How did it feel to sing a solo in this year's Christmas program?
So at first I was a little nervous because I've sang with the youth when we lead on services. I've sang on the
praise team.
But you're also with like a group of people, and you can like rely on them if you don't know a note, you rely on them to hit it. But
Then you got the choir behind you, right?
yeah. And then but with the solo, I was a little nervous at the start, but after I sang, I didn't even realize it until I think Daniel told me like a few weeks before. But it didn't hit me that I was gonna sing the Sunday morning services and the night.
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize that until like the few days before. My dad said, he's like, by the way, you're singing on Sunday morning. Don't forget, you need to practice a little bit. And I was like,
What?
My eyes went so wide. I was nervous. But then you get up there, and I got up there and practice, the rehearsal that morning, like 8 o'clock that morning. And I get there, and I'm just like letting it go, having fun, smiling. I'm like, oh, I've got this. There's no reason to be scared. So I get up there, and I just let it rip. Dude.
Yeah.
That's what Jeff says. You let it rip. If you miss a note, who cares?
And then,
You're singing for
so that
an
was
audience of
during
one.
like the Sunday, right? Well, then how did you feel during the actual program?
The actual program, it wasn't much different from the morning service. The only thing is you got the light, the spotlights on you,
I mean, but be honest with you, it's probably better because you're not looking at anybody.
No, you're blind.
Like,
dude.
you're blind
The
as a
only
bat.
thing- the only thing you can see is those lights and that backboard with the words on it. So.
I mean, because I heard Jeff up there, he was like, stand where it makes you uncomfortable, so it blinds you.
it's literally, it's
my
so
gosh.
bright, man.
I mean, you'd have to for me, you'd have to tilt the lights like way down, so it hit me right in the face. But my gosh, like, you did so good, dude.
Thank you,
I mean,
man.
and I'll put that down in the bottom in the description down there so people can go check it out.
Sure.
But now we're going to go into questions about the youth and just Christian dating in general. So, when you look at the youth today, do you see hope, or are you worried about the future? Yeah, it's hard.
Well, I feel like there's hope because you've always got the youth at Northside and even other churches that like spreading the word of the youth is easy as like walking down the hallways, giving out invitation cards. We have D Now coming up in February?
Yeah, if you remember Northside in your youth, do it.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be so much fun. And that's always, you hand out invitation cards, and it's easy as just telling people God loves you. Like it's an invitation to people, I guess.
And one thing I've noticed is like, because when I went and did the questions for the 1 year, is like, now that class that I did it in, they're like, oh, you're the religious one, So, they really try to put me on my toes. Like, and there's a lot of questions I can't answer because I'm like, you're making my brain.
I'll get back to you on that.
Like, exactly. I will circle back. Like,
I'll come back to you.
Like, because I don't, and I'm like, what? You just made my brain explode like too much. Like, and because it's not the simple stuff. It's like stuff that I haven't had the time or like really thought about and sat down and been like, oh yeah, but they sure have, because they hear it all the time, and like, sometimes you just have to sit back and just grin and bear it, and just, but you want to hear them out too, but at the same time it's like, oh boy, how am I going to respond to this? Because like. And, like, when I did that 1 year, I had questions, people asking questions, and also there was just this one kid, there's always one, right? Yeah. Always one, he wanted to argue. Now, I've always said, when I've said this before, you want to help them, sure, but don't waste your time on it. If you have people, asking you questions and wanting to learn more, go to them, because you're going to get a lot more out of it, and they're going to get a lot more out of it, too, because if they just want to keep arguing, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, because they're standing on their belief and they're not going to change on it. So.
No. And, you know, it can be this, like, slightest little thing. I might wear, like, a bracelet or something that says something, and I'm like, dude, like, it's just a band. Like, come on. But what do you think, Audrey?
Of course, I have hope for it because of us and, like, what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Like, talking about earlier how we talked about, like, there was 12 and now there's 50.
Right.
And I hope that it continues to grow, but it is, in this world that we live in now, it is kind of scary because there are so many youth now that just don't believe. But I feel like we can change that, and I feel like we just have to all try.
Yeah. And I'm not, like, saying, like, this to, like, you know, backhand you in any way, but, like, one thing I saw, you know, was that, like, more guys in, like, our generation, they lean more towards, like, you know, the Christian conservative values, things like that, while women, they're leaning the opposite way. And I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, you know, but, you know, so we need to help both of them equally. And I know that, because I actually, Noah interviewed me for, like, a college class or something, and one of the questions was, or, like, one of the things I brought up was, you know, sure, you know, I love the mission trips that go, like, abroad. You know, they're great. Yeah. But, like, we have so much problems going on right here in the U.S. that we could help. Like, I feel like there needs to be more of a push, not just in Northside, but every other church. Because, you know, they think, when you think mission trip, you think 4,000 miles away, you got to raise all this money, and then all this stuff. Well, why don't we start, like, right here, or start, you know, maybe in Valdosta?
Because we still, like, there's problems in Valdosta that we could fix. We just all have to, even like, I know our church is trying, but I feel like every church should be
on the equal level trying, right? Yeah,
really getting out there.
And you know, it would be. I mean, sure, even if it was like different, you know, put the whole denomination thing aside. You know, if every church in Valdosta teamed up just to help, like a cause of some kind, whether it be like homelessness or you know, just like you know, providing food for something or whatever, like. Let's just do that, because I know that people are like, oh, I believe this because I'm a Methodist or Baptist or whatever. We're trying to help people here. Yeah. Like, put that aside, you know?
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've tried to explain to people, because they're like, there's like all these different like denominations. What do you believe in? I'm like, well, you know, for me, I just want to, we all believe, or most believe that, you know, Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. And that's all that really matters at the very end. And, but I'd love to see that, like, a big partnership. I don't know how it would work.
I don't know how, but
I don't know.
I think it'd be cool.
Like, you know, because my mom, she used to go to Morningside, like, a long time ago when she was my age. And I think, don't they collect the Christmas tree boxes? Like, aren't they the ones that, like, collect that? Like, we, like, and, you know, something like that. Like, if we had, like, you know, what if, like, say, it'd be kind of funny, like, if you had, like, a pastors meeting, like, with all, like, the different pastors around, Valdosta, but they meet maybe in one centralized church like a month or a week or something like that to pitch an idea for people to donate to or whatever. Because like we said, there's so many needs that need to be met in the U.S. or just here. Yeah. Like, we don't need to lose sight of that. And sometimes I feel like we are. Like, you know, there's this big old spectacle like and again, I'm not saying that those missions are bad, because they're great, because you're spreading the word regardless. But there's like so much that we can do to help here as well. But young people, you know, we've discussed that they face a lot of, like, temptation, things like that in today's time. What advice would you give? If somebody walked up to either of you right now, or both of you, what advice would you give to them if they're struggling to navigate this world in a biblical way?
Okay. I feel like you just can't put yourself in certain situations, or if you are in a situation, you have to get out of it.
Pray and get out. Yeah.
like bathrooms at LHS. There's so many people in there doing so many things.
You're right.
And I sometimes I have to go to the bathroom really bad, but not that bad.
Yeah.
So I just leave. You just can't put yourself in that situation if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So. I mean, there's I know what she's talking about. And you know, even if, like, you know, they're not really doing anything, like, for me, if, like, they're crowding in there, it might lead to something I don't like it.
Saying things
it's like,
that I don't like.
I'm a small dude. You crawling around in that bathroom. I know what you're doing, you know. But yeah, I mean, 100%, yeah.
So I would also say I do like Audrey's thing with not putting yourself in situations, but even if like you do get in those situations, like pray and get out. And then what I also like going to people like someone you can trust. So like if you go to like, for us it'd be like a person in the church or somebody like, but like going to people that can help you, like accountability partner type.
Like so having you find a mentor is a big part of it.
Or multiple. You don't have to have just one, but you know, because shoot, I think how many mentors we all got at Northside right now. Like,
having a good mentor is definitely a good way to accountability partner is what I was going for.
Yeah, I mean, Noah's not just our youth pastor, but also mentor,
Yeah.
and so is Pastor Avi. Like, and that's one thing that we're blessed with here at Northside is not just great pastors, but great mentors as well, like with the staff and stuff. And it cracks me up because there's so many people that, like, and I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, like there's so many people that are on this staff that people don't realize that are actually on the staff.
Yeah, the staff at Northside's huge.
Like, I mean, shoot, a lot of people don't know that David Thomas is a staff member here.
Yeah.
Or like Miss Brenna, they don't
We
know.
have so many like committees and boards, and there's a lot of people.
Well, because I went to like it was that, budget meeting or whatever thing, because I was trying to help Noah with something, so I had to stay for the service. But, like, I was like, my gosh, at the amount of committees and the ministries and the this and that and this and that and the other, I was like, it blows my mind. How do you keep all that straight?
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Takes a lot of work.
And even though I saw like the ins and outs for 2 months, I was like, oh my gosh, this
Didn't hear about that.
we just touched the surface, But that's really good advice, you two. I really, and for sure, like, and you can do some small stuff too to spread the gospel. Like one thing that Miss Lisa Hannon she's given me is like witness cards, and I've been giving some to Micah too. We've been handing them out, and they've got like a website on the back of them, so that's more resources for people.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it just has a verse on it with like it says know that you are loved or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been like taking them everywhere. It's like so I've been doing Operation Patriotism events. I've been taking those everywhere, and then like stuff like that. So just doing small stuff, you don't realize how much of a big impact that can have.
Yep.
And one thing that I was thinking about too, it was kind of on my heart was, and I'm going to talk about it in FCA as well, was, Noah talks about, raising up the next generation of leaders
Yep.
in the church, but also we have to raise the next generation of leaders up in the schools,
Yep.
Christian leaders up in the schools because, it starts in the home, then the school, and then your church, right? Or maybe a different order, but that's how it was for me. Like, so if we can spread the gospel in schools, then imagine how, because, it's a proven fact, when they took prayer out of schools, everything dropped. I think test scores dropped. Personally, just like mental health dropped, everything dropped. I'm like, and you don't want to help that? Come on. Come on. Like, you put a big stick on mental health, but you took prayer out, which was the thing that was working. Oh, come on. But, so what are some boundaries that you guys have set for yourselves when it comes to, like, your relationship? Like, for other people, like, that might be beneficial for other people, like, to know that you can think of.
So I would definitely say
that
not putting ourselves in
Yep.
situations.
Like,
so going out with like groups of friends,
Yep.
or not going to, like
Not
places you
being-
shouldn't be,
or,
that kind of stuff.
Like by yourself.
Yeah.
Be like, whether that's siblings or parents is a big deal. Like always try to be around someone, not just by yourself with the other person.
Yeah. And because I know that, of course, like, I can think of many, like, stories and stuff I've heard. I'm like, you just go in a group. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, even our homecoming group, like,
it was all church,
We-
like,
Yeah.
It was.
But, like, even, like, we went with a group of people. We didn't just go by ourselves,
Yeah.
And that's also, like, a way to not to
Mm-hmm.
get yourself in
And,
situations.
for sure, like, I don't think, I've not gone, I've had, like, 2 dates, but I've gone in a group
And
all
not
the time.
like going on dates is going on dates is fine.
Yeah.
But there's times and places where you should not be by
Right.
yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like going on a date, like going to dinner.
That's fine.
We go to dinner
You're
all
going,
the time.
Yeah, because you go out in public.
Yep.
But, like, don't put yourself in situations where you two are alone by yourself. That's how you do that.
That's
Exactly.
so major.
Yeah. So, I can't speak. What is one thing that someone, that if they're trying to find a relationship, what's something they, like, some qualities they should look for?
Christian.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
a good Christian person.
So I wouldn't say a lot of people go for people that have like certain appearances, what they look like, which is so wrong because that's not what that's not like what we're supposed to do. You're supposed to look at someone on like the inside, like how their heart is and how they act and how they treat other people. And so that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Is don't just look at what they look like on the outside because that is not.
And
like,
that is definitely something our
Right.
generation does to way too much.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what they've done in their life.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like,
Oh, you've done that?
Oh, you've done that?
Yeah.
They're either like want that or they don't. And I just see people like they need to look on the inside, not on what's on the outside or what someone's done or accomplished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
I would really just say the Christian is what everybody looks at, but also I like Audrey. Audrey's like stealing my answer.
Hey,
the good,
Well,
good personality, like
Good personality.
Yeah.
good Christian. All it like someone you can go to and like pray with is like a really
Yeah.
good.
And, another thing, too, is, like, I've kind of told some of my friends and stuff, too, is, like, somebody that you can bring around your friends, like, you
Yeah.
know, because I know that, like, there's been plenty of times where it's like, you know, like, one of my friends or something like that, they won't bring them around. I'm like, where are they at? Like, you
Yeah.
know, like,
And
is
family.
there a
Family is a
reason?
big thing. Like, my family loves Asa.
Oh, I can tell.
Like,
yeah.
they love him. Like, my little cousins, like, one of them just went to the snow time shop at school, and there was, like, a list of 10 people. Number 1 was Asa.
Asa.
And then my aunt was like, well, I guess we all know where we stand. And I was like...
That is funny. That is great.
Like, above, she put him above all of my cousins, her mom and dad, all of us, my grandparents. If he was number 1.
I mean,
and I'm
honest,
like...
I've probably done something like that before
Yeah,
when I
it's
was
just
younger.
funny. Like, my whole family. It's just...
Yeah,
so good.
like, you know, when I'm like, you know, writing out lists or something, or like trying to do something, I always put like, you know, people like right off the top of my head, and my mom's like, "I'm not first," and I'm like, well, sorry, change that. Like, it's like, whoops. For my final question though, what has been your favorite part about being part of the Northside Youth Ministry?
Like everything.
Yeah.
Sunday schools really, or not Sunday schools, life groups.
Life groups.
I love life groups on Sunday mornings. It really grows, like I grow more as a Christian. And just Wednesday nights, it's so fun to like worship with other people your age,
especially your age.
and our new wing.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
I mean, we have a whole hallway.
Right,
What?
we have a whole
You know?
hallway, a game room. What?
Yeah.
It's so nice.
And then a hangout. Well, that's the game room. Hangout.
And I have been the last Savannah mission trip they did. That was so fun. Like that was my first time ever sharing my testimony in
besides
public.
the hotel.
Yeah, besides the hotel.
Yeah.
But that was my first time ever sharing my testimony in public. And it was so awesome. And now I do it. I share my testimony every day with people. But
and it's funny, you think I could do it because I talk on all these podcasts all the time. It's like, nobody's staring at me, though.
Right.
It's like, you know, and I've thought about doing, like, I mean, the opportunity hasn't come up yet. But, like, so many people have asked me, like, what's your deal? I'm like, well, how much time you got? You know, like, because we could be here a while.
Evangelizing. Whenever that debunked group came and we went to VSU, I was one of the people that went and ministering to college kids as a...
What?
I was in middle school ministering to college
crazy.
kids. Me and Jenna Gregory, there was 2 people that got saved.
That's awesome.
It was great. And then also just going in neighborhoods was so fun.
Yeah.
I know we've done a couple of those for, like, even doing, like, going from neighborhood to neighborhood for the DNOW cards. Just putting them on, like, indoors and handing them out. We did one for Christmas, didn't we, one time?
Yep, the Christmas program.
Yeah, that cracked me up when Jeff said they were putting the Christmas at Northside cards on the people that were parked for the parade in the parking lot.
They did.
They were putting the cards on the windshields. I'm like, now that's how you evangelize right there. But yeah, and I mean, again, it's a small thing, but you don't realize the impact that can have on. But yeah, if you had to pick one thing, Asa, that has been your favorite thing, what do you think?
Well, coming on Wednesday nights is always fun. Like, even the first time I came, like, it's such a good group of people to come to. Because the first night I came, the old bleachers that are in the gym, I sat down. Woo. And my sister, Kirsten, she had been there, like, 2 weeks before. And I couldn't go to football or something. But she went, and she kind of just went off and didn't realize she left me. And I'm just sitting there on the bleachers. And the first person that comes up to me is Daniel Holcomb. And it was his first time, too.
Really?
So we sat there and was like... So you've been here before? And I was like, nope, this is my first time. And that's the first person I met. And then, like, a whole group of people just, like, start surrounding you. And they're all just like, who are you? How are you been? Like, and one thing is everybody thought I was older when I got here.
Yeah.
I've always been, like, one Sunday school class ahead because I knew the older guys because I got stuck in a Sunday school class one time. But just the people here are great. And then, like, going to DNOWs with all those people, it's just a fun time.
I love DNOW.
I remember I was like, it didn't freak me out as bad because my mom was a host home, so I was with, I was like,
you were at home, you know?
Yeah, but like, at the same time, though, it was a little weird because, like, there's these people I don't know in my home. Like, you know, like, you know.
Yeah. One time I stayed at, like, I think it was Donna Norton's house. I stayed there, but... Other girls were staying at my house when it was just my parents and other girls. Ooh. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, girls that are younger than me are staying in my house, but I'm not there. Yeah. And I'm like, this is okay.
Because, like, I remember I did that partly because of myself and because of Vanes, because he was, like, nervous about saying something to somebody else's house he didn't know. And I was like, okay, you know, my mom was a host home. Well, then, you know, he gets sick. I'm like, bruh, like, no. I'm like, no. I'm like, come on. But, like, that was so fun, though. Like, I know too, people like, because Mr. Brandon was my life group leader in there, and then Mr. Tasha was saying like about the breakfast they had, and it was like really small or whatever. And then Mr. Brandon we gave like them like hash browns, eggs. We got them the full spread. Like my dad cooked breakfast that morning for like, I don't know, about 6 kids. We thought there was gonna be 11. And my house is built for 3. I was terrified. I was like,
y'all going to Waffle House?
Oh yeah.
Didn't you go to Waffle House?
We have like a tradition every like D-Now. I think it's one of the nights. I don't remember if it's the first or last one.
Yeah, it probably was the last one.
Yeah, it's the last
we
night.
we go to Waffle House real late.
As
it's always a trip.
You should.
As you should.
It's a fun tradition, man.
I mean, come on, Mr. Brandon, come on. We should have done that. Come on. I mean, I know the breakfast was good, but we should have went to Waffle House. But I thank you guys so much for your time. But is there any like final thoughts that you want to say? Any words of encouragement? Anything like that?
I want to encourage everybody to go to D-Now.
Heck yeah.
In February.
Come to Northside.
Come to Northside.
Come to Northside. Just
It's a great
please.
experience.
And, I was going to pitch this to Landon, but maybe he should do like a new members like video or something,
Yes.
with all the different ministries.
Yep.
Because, like, when I got here, I didn't know what the heck
Yeah, I think
all
that'd
that
be a
was
good
going
idea.
on. Was just, because I just kind of figured it out. Which, you will eventually, but if you get all the information now, then you ain't got to figure it out. It's right there. But yeah, I thank you so much for your time, guys. And
Thank you.
And thank you for helping me finish out this year.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. With another episode of the Young Minds Podcast coming to a close, I just want to remind you that you are never alone and faith is action. So let's get out there.